What's up, my friends? How's it going, peoples? Carpo here, coming at you on a Thursday afternoon from the inside of the bus. And this video, of course, like most of them, is off the cuff, and so I'll do my best to address the subject I want to talk about without droning on too long. I think that this is an important topic, and it's something I've thought about a lot lately, and I just haven't been able to vocalize exactly, how I feel. But more than that, over the years, I've grown to have different opinions on a lot of things, and so that's helped me to, build a better idea of what people really, the insecurities that we have as individuals. And after seeing enough other people speak about it, enough documentaries, or reading enough psychology articles, I come to the conclusion that a majority of us put ourselves down way too often and are very self-critical. And I'm no exception to this at all. I mean, why would I be? Everyone, right? Everybody thinks that, looks down on themselves. Well, if that comes up in a conversation, a person may be likely to say, well, actually, no, a lot of people think very highly of themselves, and they act very arrogant and self-serving and entitled. And I would say that if you look at that closer, and if you really pick it apart, the reason why people who are very arrogant and, entitled seem to be so prevalent is because they're the ones who tend to stick out from the crowd. They're the people you notice while dozens of others are patiently waiting or, doing what people do, whatever the situation may be. There will be one person that would stand out, and we're likely to remember that and think, God, people are such jerks. And you really think about it, most people aren't jerks. So, for the sake of this video, I'd like to say that I'm speaking to all of you, knowing that almost all of you, maybe all of you, have self-doubt and are self-critical beyond what you should be. And if we take the actual amount of people who are truly think that they are the shit, I'm the greatest, if you look at those people even closer, you'll find that a majority of them are overcompensating for their actual intense insecurity that they truly have. And that's a psychological, thing that's well known in psychology. So that helps to understand that, to realize that as big as people act and as tough and as puffy as they want to get, generally inside they're hurting in one way or another. And when we understand that, I think that we can understand each other better. And then we're not fighting between, those who hate themselves and those who love themselves, but realizing that we all just are a little too self-critical at times, but it also must have an evolutionary reason. It's maybe our confusion about being conscious, but I think it helps to drive us. If we don't have that, we remain stagnant. I would say there are a small amount of people out there, for a small sect of the arrogant population, who truly do believe that they're the greatest. And we'll just leave those people aside, because for the sake of this argument, they're irrelevant. They are relevant in the big picture because those are the people who tend to take on some of the jobs like CEOs and leadership titles. And that's why it seems like people are such jerks. So for the sake of this, let's just talk about the general person, the average person, whatever that might be. Hold on, here's somebody else. Oh, the mailman. I think that most people are... We have to protect ourselves. We have to protect our emotions. We have to be a little bit guarded at times to make sure that, we're not revealing our, whole heart to the world. On the other hand, some people go the opposite direction. They actually think that they're better off doing exactly that. I gotta pause that. I didn't realize I had my recycling in front of the mailbox, and you don't want to piss off the mailman. So anyhow, on behalf of all of us, the reason why I'm making this video is because whenever I hear that other people have the same struggles as I do, and that other people, have the same pressures and problems, it's actually very comforting to know that we're not alone. And I think some folks out there really do believe that there's a point in your life where you have this epiphany and you all of a sudden are an adult, or you realize what life's all about, or you find a system that works and it's consistently, and it's just not the case. And in my experience, I've found that I will attach to an idea for a while, I'll get very obsessed about it, do deep research into it, and then just completely lose interest in it. like, okay, whatever, that wasn't what I expected it to be, or maybe it's just for the sake of moving from one thing to another. But in that process of continually learning, I kind of beat myself up at times about, like, well, I take on a project, like I'll start writing a book, or I'll say I'm going to do a documentary or do this or that, and then I'll just totally lose interest in it, or still have interest but not be able to pursue it because I don't have the time, the funds, the motivation, whatever it might be. And then I get down on myself because I'm like, you know, you could do so much. You know, you're capable of doing so many things in this lifetime, and you're getting older, and you know, but at those times I have to step back and look and say, look at what you've actually done and accomplished, the things you have accomplished. You know, however small they may be. You know, for me, a family is a big thing, and you know, the fact that I'm raising kids, that's like an art form in itself, and I'm doing my damnedest, but at the same time, I can't beat myself up about what I didn't know as a parent before. And I can't beat myself up over what jobs I may have missed or what opportunities I may have missed, you know. The grass always seems greener on the other side. Like I said before, it's because it's artificial turf, you know. You really, you figure it out. You start to realize that everything is an illusion as far as moving up. You know, I talk to a lot of people who believe that they're, you know, using the term, things like woke. That term is pretty much meaningless to me. The more you learn about life, the more educated you are, but nobody's woke unless you can define exactly what that means. You're aware of conspiracies, or maybe you're just aware of your own power, but none of us really have anything long-term that we can hold on to, is the thing. You have to either attach to someone else's ideas that came before you, or create a whole new system of what you think to be reality, if you will. Or just go along in your life and hope that you're doing the best and learn this and learn that and try to take a little bit from everything you learn and say, you know, what does it really mean to be a human? And I find that if we lean too far to one side, it helps us to feel like we're righteous. In other words, if someone takes on a new political belief or a new, you know, religion, whether it be moving from one thought pattern to another or one job to another, we tend to think, okay, well, this is going to be the one, you know, this is the one, this is definitely it, you know, and I'm happy with this. And 10 years later, like, even 10 months later, or maybe 10 days later, whatever it might be, you can only hope that there's one exception to this, the uncomfort of wanting to move on to other things. For people like myself who are like that, you'll find that one of the things I'm most grateful for that I don't overlook is that I don't feel that way about my family. That it's interesting that while my hobbies and jobs and habits may change, I'm so grateful to have a stable family, and that I have a wife that I love and kids that love me, and we don't fight and scream at each other. And I know so many families out there are just so we're all dysfunctional, but some are to the point where, you know, there's constant yelling going on and just a horrible atmosphere. So anyhow, I'm pointing out the good points. If you have good things in your life, be grateful for them. Be grateful for the stability that you do have. Acknowledge what you do have. Because for us, beating ourselves down and being self-critical is a form of victimhood, especially if we're expressing it to the world. Everybody knows the Facebook poster who always posts some passive-aggressive thing about somebody that screwed them over, or something to the effect of, oh, well, I won't trust them again, and hoping and, you know, fishing for people to go, oh, no, what's wrong, what's wrong? You know, the victimhood has to stop. And the only way that's going to happen is if people realize that the illusion they have of others all being happy is not true, that everyone has a little bit of discomfort about it. So be grateful for what you do have. Work towards something greater. But most of all, talk to people in your life. Let them know that we all have this. Open up. Opening up is just, you know, I thought about this earlier. One of the reasons why we never feel like, why we have this romanticized version of people of the past. We have a very, a big time, you know, a hero complex. We're obsessed with celebrity complex. You know, for example, oh, Einstein came up with this solution. It's good to go. It's the best thing ever. He's the greatest guy. You know, but when you look deeper, he had all kinds of problems in his own life too. Well, if you go back further in history, you know, you've got these great kings and leaders and knights, and nobody talks about the parts of their life that are just like, man, why did I choose to be a knight? You know, it's something that we all face. And others have this image that, wow, this person found their fate, they found their path, and that they didn't suffer. You know, it's an illusion, and it's important that we break it. Because then we can realize that we're all fucked together. And then we can start the healing, the true healing. You know, somewhere between absurdity and order, or chaos and order, lies, you know, the way society operates. There's never going to be a homogenized version of humans where we all think and feel and believe the same thing and live in these beautiful communities. There's always going to be a little bit of conflict. There's always going to be a little bit of hate. There's always going to be a little bit of confusion, a lot of confusion. But what we have to do is take it upon ourselves to acknowledge that, to move past it, and to say, let's get the most out of this life. Living in the now, you may have heard that a million times. It doesn't mean what you think it means, or, well, it might not mean what you think it means. People have this image that it's all about forgetting about everything else and just being right now present. It does mean that to an extent, but what it really means is acknowledging that it's not about what's going to happen tomorrow, and don't dwell on the past, but you're utilizing the past to improve the future. Everything that you've learned is, you know, it's a compilation. Everything you do right now is affected by what you've done in the past. All of us are programmed. Not one of us is, you know, has all these thoughts that we came up with on our own and like, oh, I'm my own man. It's like, no, you're not. You're a compilation of your mother and your father, or your grandparents, or whoever you grew up with, as well as your friends, your schools, your environment, whatever bacteria live in your gut, whatever viruses are in your body. Our thoughts are not always our own, but we can lasso them back in. I'll edit at that. Talk to you all later. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching. If you have any questions, info's in the description, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think about all this crazy shit called life. Peace.